My name is Claire Donnelly. I'm 34 years old, and for the last 11 years, I've worked as an accountant at a mid-sized financial firm outside Columbus, Ohio. Numbers have always made more sense to me than people. Ledgers don't hide their intentions. Receipts don't pretend. If something doesn't add up, there's always a reason. You just have to keep looking. I wish families worked the same way. The afternoon my mother told me I owed her every paycheck I'd earned since I turned 18, there were 23 people sitting around my aunt's dining room table. It was my grandmother's 78th birthday. The roast was getting cold. My uncle was pouring iced tea into glasses that no one was drinking. My younger cousins were laughing in the backyard. Then my mother calmly slid a yellow folder across the table toward me. "I've kept track of everything," she said. I remember looking at the folder before I looked at her. Inside were handwritten pages. Dates. Amounts. Years. At the bottom of the final page was a number that made everyone at the table fall silent. $486,214. "That's what you owe me," she said. "Every paycheck since you were 18. Raising you wasn't free." No one laughed. No one told her she was joking. Instead, several people looked at me as if they had been expecting this conversation for years. I didn't argue. I simply closed the folder. That's something people often misunderstand about quiet people. Silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's observation. At that moment, I noticed something much stranger than the number. My father never looked up from his plate. Not once. I filed that away. Because years of balancing accounts had taught me one simple lesson. People avoid looking at the things they already know. What I didn't know then was that the folder wasn't the real story. The real story was buried inside records no one in my family believed still existed. And when another accountant, someone who had never met any of us before, opened those records weeks later, everything my mother had spent decades building began to collapse. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you how a family birthday became the beginning of the biggest lie I'd ever uncovered, let me ask you something. If you've ever discovered that the people closest to you weren't telling the whole truth, you're in the right place. Stories like this remind us that facts have a way of surviving, even when memories don't. If you enjoy thoughtful family dramas with unexpected twists, I'd love for you to stay until the end. Because nothing about that afternoon happened the way I first believed. It actually started several weeks earlier. The first sign wasn't a demand for money. It was a voicemail. My mother, Elaine Donnelly, was 59 and had spent most of her career working as a receptionist in a dental office. She believed every sacrifice deserved recognition, preferably in front of other people. She wasn't loud. She was simply very good at making gratitude sound like an unpaid bill. Her message lasted less than 30 seconds. "Claire, call me tonight. We need to discuss your financial responsibility to this family." Financial responsibility. That wasn't how mothers usually spoke to daughters. At least, not mine. I listened to the message twice while sitting at my desk after everyone else had gone home. Outside my office window, rain streaked across the parking lot. My coffee had gone cold hours earlier, but I took another sip anyway. Something about her wording bothered me. Not because it sounded angry. Because it sounded prepared. Prepared people usually expect evidence to support them. Or they already think they have it. When I called her that evening, she didn't mention money immediately. Instead, she asked whether I would be attending Grandma Ruth's birthday dinner the following Saturday. "I wouldn't miss it," I said. "Good," she replied after a pause that felt longer than it should have. "There are a few family matters that need to be settled." I remember staring at the calendar pinned beside my desk. One dinner. One conversation. I thought that was all she meant. I couldn't have known she had already spent months collecting papers she believed would prove I owed her nearly $500,000. Or that someone else had quietly been collecting records of their own. And those records would soon force every person at that birthday table to choose between loyalty and the truth. The Saturday of my grandmother's birthday arrived with the kind of gray skies Ohio seems to save for family gatherings. Not stormy. Just heavy enough to make everything outside look a little faded. I drove the 40 minutes to my aunt's house with a blueberry pie cooling in the passenger seat. My grandmother always insisted homemade desserts tasted better than anything from a bakery, even if she quietly admitted mine usually leaned a little too sweet. When I pulled into the driveway, every familiar car was already there. My mother's silver sedan. My father's aging pickup. My aunt's SUV. My younger brother's black crossover. For a moment, I considered turning around. Not because I was afraid. Because my mother's voicemail still echoed in my head. Financial responsibility. Those words didn't belong beside birthday balloons. Inside, the house smelled like roasted chicken, fresh rolls, and coffee that had been sitting on the warmer just a little too long. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. Family photographs lined the hallway. Children chased each other between the living room and kitchen. Someone had old country music playing softly from a speaker near the window. That's the thing about families. Sometimes the biggest cracks are hidden behind the most familiar routines. Grandma Ruth hugged me first. She had turned 78 that morning. Years of working as a school librarian had given her the habit of noticing small things. Even in retirement, she still straightened crooked picture frames and folded napkins into neat squares. "There she is," she said with a warm smile. "My busiest granddaughter. You say that every year. Because it's still true." She squeezed my hand a little longer than usual. "You've been working too much." "I've heard that before. You should probably listen." She smiled, but there was something thoughtful behind her eyes. Almost as if she wanted to say something else. She didn't. Not then. My father, Thomas Donnelly, stood near the kitchen sink refilling glasses with iced tea. He was 62. A retired maintenance supervisor. A man who could repair almost anything except difficult conversations. Growing up, I'd learned something about him. He never chose sides. He simply disappeared into silence whenever conflict appeared. "Hey, kiddo," he said without looking up. "Hi, Dad. Busy week?" "The usual." He nodded once. Conversation over. That had always been enough for him. Then my younger brother arrived beside me. Ryan, 31, worked in commercial real estate. He was charming, quick with jokes, and somehow always managed to leave uncomfortable situations before anyone expected anything from him. He hugged me. "You survived tax season again." "Barely. You accountants make life sound exhausting." "It usually is." He laughed. I noticed our mother watching us from across the room. She wasn't smiling. She rarely interrupted Ryan. She interrupted me often. It had always been that way. When we were children, Ryan could forget birthdays, leave dishes in the sink, borrow money without repaying it, and somehow the explanation always became, he's doing his best. If I earned a 98 on a math exam instead of 100, my mother would ask what happened to the other 2 points. At the time, I thought she simply expected more from me. Now I'm not so sure. Small things returned to me while everyone gathered around the dining room. Ryan received a used car after college. I received advice about budgeting. Ryan's apartment deposit had quietly been paid by our parents. When I rented my first apartment, my mother congratulated me for finally becoming independent. Ryan forgot Mother's Day one year. She laughed. I missed a Sunday phone call because I was covering for a sick coworker. She didn't speak to me for nearly 2 weeks. None of those moments seemed important by themselves. Together, They formed a pattern. Patterns matter. Especially when you spend your life looking for them. During lunch, my Aunt Denise leaned over while passing the mashed potatoes. "You've been promoted again, haven't you? Earlier this year. Congratulations." Before I could answer, my mother spoke from the other end of the table. "Claire's done well." She paused just long enough for everyone to notice. Of course, none of that would have been possible without everything her father and I sacrificed. The room became unusually quiet. People nodded politely. Someone changed the subject. But I noticed Ryan staring at his plate. Not embarrassed. Uncomfortable. As though he'd heard this speech before. After lunch, while everyone drifted toward the backyard for cake, I stayed behind to help clear dishes. The kitchen felt peaceful. Running water. Stacked plates. The soft ticking of the wall clock. Grandma Ruth dried a serving bowl before setting it carefully into the cabinet. Without turning toward me, she spoke so quietly I almost missed it. "Claire. Yeah. If your mother gives you something today." She stopped. I waited. "Don't agree to anything until you've looked at every piece of paper." I frowned. "What papers?" She looked toward the dining room doorway, making sure no one else was nearby. Then she answered with a sentence I've replayed more times than I can count. "Sometimes people count on the fact that no one checks old records." Before I could ask what she meant, my mother walked into the room carrying a thick yellow folder. She placed it gently on the dining room table. Every conversation in the house slowly faded. And then she looked directly at me. "We should settle your debt," she said. No one moved. The kitchen clock continued ticking behind us, almost loud enough to fill the silence. My mother rested one hand on the yellow folder as though she were protecting something valuable. The cover was worn around the edges. It looked as if she'd opened it dozens of times before that afternoon. "This won't take long," she said. I remained standing beside the table. "Debt?" I asked quietly. "Yes." There was no anger in her voice. Only certainty. "I've documented every expense your father and I covered after you turned 18. Tuition assistance. Living expenses. Insurance. Food. Clothing. Everything." She slid the folder toward me. "I've been patient for years." I opened it. Every page had been handwritten in neat blue ink. Dates stretched back 16 years. Amounts were listed down the margins. Some entries looked oddly specific. Others were perfectly round numbers. $950. $2,400. $8,000. There were no receipts attached. No bank statements. Just pages of calculations. At the bottom sat the final total. $486,214. Around the table, no one spoke. Not my father. Not Ryan. Not my aunt. Not even Grandma Ruth. I slowly turned another page. There was a section labeled interest. I almost smiled. Accountants notice strange things before emotional things. The interest calculations weren't consistent. Some years used one percentage. Others used another. One year had no calculation at all. Whoever made these pages wanted them to look official. Official wasn't the same as accurate. I closed the folder gently. "How did you calculate this?" My mother's answer came immediately. "I kept records. I can see that. They're complete." I looked back down. "They're handwritten. They're still records." That sentence stayed with me. Because it wasn't entirely true. Handwritten notes can be reminders. Opinions. Estimates. Real financial records usually leave a trail. Checks. Transfers. Statements. Tax documents. Receipts. People. I had spent over a decade proving where money came from and where it went. Money rarely vanished without leaving fingerprints. "I'd like copies," I said. My mother blinked. "Copies? So I can review everything." "There isn't anything to review." "There always is." A faint smile disappeared from her face. Across the room, my father shifted his weight but said nothing. That silence bothered me more than the folder. He wasn't surprised. Not even a little. Ryan finally spoke. "Maybe everybody should calm down." "I am calm," I answered. "I just want documentation." My mother's shoulders stiffened. "You don't trust your own mother." I thought carefully before answering. "I verify everyone's numbers." She looked around the room. "See?" She laughed softly. "This is what accounting has done to her. She thinks family should operate like a business." No one agreed. No one disagreed. People simply looked uncomfortable. I've replayed that afternoon hundreds of times. One memory always stands out. Grandma Ruth wasn't looking at me. She wasn't looking at my mother either. She was staring at the folder itself. Almost sadly. As though she'd seen something similar years before. Cake eventually appeared. Candles were lit. Everyone sang. The children laughed. Someone sliced pie. The conversation drifted toward vacations, school schedules, and football. If a stranger had walked into the house, they never would have guessed a daughter had just been handed a bill for nearly $500,000. Families are remarkably skilled at pretending normal has returned. Before I left, my mother stopped me near the front door. "When can I expect payment?" "I haven't agreed I owe you anything. You know what's fair. I know what's documented. They're the same thing." "Not always." She frowned. "I gave you everything." I looked past her toward the dining room. Family photographs covered one wall. Birthdays. Christmas mornings. Graduations. Every smiling picture seemed to tell the same story. Happy family. Complete family. Simple family. Photographs never show what happens before or after the shutter clicks. "I'll review everything," I said. "Don't take too long." "I won't." She nodded once. "I've already spoken to someone." That caught my attention. "Who?" "You'll find out." Then she opened the front door for me. Outside, the evening air felt cooler than it had earlier. I sat in my car for several minutes without starting the engine. Instead, I took pictures of every page in the folder. Habit. Evidence should always exist in more than one place. On the drive home, I mentally listed everything I'd need. Bank records. Tax returns. Employment history. College financial aid. Insurance statements. Anything connected to money over the last 16 years. The list kept growing. Halfway home, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Grandma Ruth. I answered immediately. "Hi, Grandma." Her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't want to say this at the house. "What is it?" There was a long pause. Then she said something that made me pull into the nearest parking lot. "Claire, if your mother asks for records before 2010. Another pause. "Don't let her know you have them." My heart sank. "Why?" "I thought those papers disappeared years ago." She exhaled slowly. "But yesterday someone came looking for them." Before I could ask who, she quietly added one more sentence. "And I don't think your mother was the one searching." I didn't sleep much that night. Grandma Ruth's words kept circling in my mind. I thought those papers disappeared years ago. What papers? And why would someone else be looking for them now? The following Monday, I arrived at the office before 7. The building was almost empty. The cleaning crew had just finished, and the lobby still smelled faintly of lemon polish. I unlocked my office, set my bag on the floor, and opened the photos I'd taken of my mother's folder. I wasn't looking for proof she was wrong. I was looking for consistency. Instead, I found questions. The first page claimed she'd loaned me $3,200 during my freshman year of college. I never lived at home that year. My tuition had been covered through scholarships, federal aid, and the part-time jobs I worked on weekends. The second page listed monthly grocery expenses while I was supposedly living in a dorm nearly 2 hours away. Another section charged me for my childhood bedroom after I turned 18, even though I'd only stayed there during holidays. By lunchtime, I'd written down 23 items that needed supporting documents. 23. Not one of them included a receipt. I leaned back in my chair. If this had been a client, I already knew what my next step would be. Follow the paper trail. Money always leaves one. People don't. That afternoon, I called the university's records office. Most financial records older than 10 years weren't kept online, but archived files could still be requested. The woman on the phone was helpful. It may take a week or 2. That's fine. We'll send whatever still exists. Thank you. Next came my old bank. Then my former employer from college. Then the insurance company I'd used during those years. By the time I finished, my notebook contained an entire page of requests. I should have felt overwhelmed. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Facts had a way of slowing my heartbeat. Late that evening, my phone buzzed. Ryan. I almost let it go to voicemail. Instead, I answered. Hey. You busy? A little. I figured. His voice sounded different. Careful. I wanted to ask about Saturday. What about it? Mom's been talking. She usually is. He sighed. Claire. I waited. I think you should just work something out. Based on what? You know how much they sacrificed. I do. So I'd like evidence. Silence. Finally he said, not everything needs evidence. I looked out my office window. The parking lot was nearly empty now. I spend my life proving numbers. I know. Then you know I can't write someone a check because they handed me handwritten pages. Ryan didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice had dropped lower. I don't think she's going to let this go. I never expected her to. He hesitated. Then he asked a question that felt oddly rehearsed. Do you still have all your old paperwork? My grip tightened around the phone. What paperwork? You know, tax stuff. College things. Why? No reason. People who say, no reason, almost always have one. Ryan. I was just asking. Did Mom tell you to call? No. The answer came too quickly. We ended the conversation politely, but something had shifted. He wasn't simply trying to keep the peace. He was looking for information. The next Saturday, I drove to Grandma Ruth's house alone. She preferred quiet mornings before church, when the neighborhood was still and the coffee was fresh. She was waiting on the porch. I thought you might come. I've been thinking about what you said. She nodded. I figured. Inside, nothing had changed since I was a teenager. The same quilt folded over the couch. The same clock above the fireplace. The same shelves filled with books she'd collected during 30 years as a librarian. She poured coffee into 2 mugs. Neither of us touched them. I need to ask you something, I said. Go ahead. What records disappeared? She looked toward the living room window before answering. Not disappeared. She corrected herself quietly. Hidden. My stomach tightened. By who? I don't know. You said someone came looking. I said someone asked. Who? She folded her hands together. Your father. I stared at her. Dad? He came here the day before the birthday dinner. What did he want? He asked if I still had your grandfather's filing cabinets. My grandfather's? She nodded. He specifically asked about financial records. I frowned. My grandfather died 14 years ago. I know. Why would Dad suddenly care? Grandma Ruth stood slowly and walked toward the hallway. At the end sat an old wooden door leading to the basement. She rested one hand on the doorknob. I never threw them away. She opened the door. Cool air drifted up the stairs. They're all still down there. Rows of gray metal filing cabinets stretched across one wall beneath a single fluorescent light. Some drawers were labeled with years. Others with names. Business. Property. Taxes. Insurance. My grandfather had documented almost everything. He believed in keeping records forever, Grandma said. I stepped closer to the nearest cabinet. Most drawers were locked. One wasn't. Inside were folders arranged in perfect alphabetical order. As I carefully pulled one forward, a folded envelope slipped onto the concrete floor. Across the front, in my grandfather's handwriting, were 6 words. Open only if Elaine makes claims. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The envelope rested on the basement floor between us. It wasn't thick. Just ordinary white paper that had yellowed slightly with age. My grandfather's handwriting was unmistakable. He'd always written in careful block letters, as though every word might someday need to be read in a courtroom. Grandma Ruth didn't reach for it. Neither did I. Finally, she said, I haven't seen that before. You never opened these cabinets. She shook her head. Your grandfather handled all the family finances. After he passed, I locked everything away. I couldn't bring myself to sort through it. I bent down and picked up the envelope. The paper felt dry and fragile. Across the sealed flap was another handwritten note. Dated, March 14, 2009. 17 years earlier. I looked at Grandma. Do you think I should open it? She gave a tired smile. I think your grandfather expected you to. I carefully broke the seal. Inside were 3 folded sheets of paper and a smaller envelope. The first page wasn't a letter. It was a list. Names. Dates. Amounts. Each line included a signature. At first, none of it made sense. Then one name caught my attention. Elaine Donnelly. My mother's name appeared again. And again. And again. Every entry was followed by a check number. Not money she had paid. Money she had received. I frowned. What is this? Grandma adjusted her glasses. I don't know. The second page explained it. It was written entirely in my grandfather's handwriting. If anyone ever claims Claire owes money for her education or early adulthood, compare those claims with my payment ledger. Elaine requested financial assistance from me for Claire on multiple occasions. Every request was approved under one condition. The funds were gifts for Claire's benefit. They were never loans. I read the paragraph twice. Then a third time. My grandfather had underlined the final sentence. Never loans. A strange feeling settled over me. Not relief. Confusion. If my mother had already received financial help, why was she asking me to repay the same expenses? I turned to the next page. There they were. Copies of checks. Photocopied years earlier. Each one made payable to Elaine Donnelly. Each memo line explained exactly why. Claire's tuition. Claire's apartment deposit. Claire's textbooks. Claire's medical expenses. Every expense listed in my mother's yellow folder. Already appeared here. Already paid. Already documented. I looked at Grandma. Her expression slowly changed from curiosity to disbelief. I never knew he kept copies. I don't think anyone did. She sat down on the basement steps. "Oh, Harold," she whispered, almost to herself. "You planned for this." I looked inside the smaller envelope. It contained one business card. Nothing else. The card belonged to a local accounting firm that no longer existed. On the back, my grandfather had written another short note. Original ledgers transferred to Michael Avery. "Who's Michael Avery?" I asked. Grandma thought for a moment. "He was Harold's accountant." "Is he still alive?" "I honestly don't know." The name sounded familiar. Not personally. Professionally. I had seen it somewhere before. Then I remembered. One of the retired partners at my own firm had mentioned working with an accountant named Michael Avery decades ago. A coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. I slipped the papers carefully back into the envelope. "We should make copies." Grandma nodded immediately. "And don't tell your mother." I wasn't planning to. She looked toward the basement stairs before lowering her voice. "Claire." "Yeah. I need to tell you something I should have said years ago." I waited. "Your grandfather and I argued more than once about giving your mother money." "Why?" "He worried she wasn't being honest about how much she needed." "Did he ever say why he kept helping?" Grandma smiled sadly. "Because every time she asked, she said it was for you." Those words stayed with me all afternoon. On the drive home, I stopped at a copy shop and scanned every page into multiple digital files. Then I saved them to 2 separate drives. Old habits. Evidence should never exist in only one place. That evening, while organizing the documents at my dining room table, I noticed something I had missed earlier. The check numbers weren't consecutive. Several were missing. Not 1 or 2. Dozens. The gap stretched across nearly 8 years. If these were copies, where were the originals? My phone vibrated before I could think any further. Unknown number. Normally, I ignored those calls. This time, I answered. "Hello?" A calm male voice spoke. "Is this Claire Donnelly?" "Yes. My name is Daniel Brooks." There was a brief pause. "I'm calling on behalf of Michael Avery." I sat upright. "The accountant?" "Yes. He asked me to contact you immediately after someone else came looking for your family's financial records." My pulse quickened. "Someone already found him?" "Yes." "When?" The answer made my stomach drop. "Yesterday morning." "And they weren't asking about your mother?" There was another pause. "They were asking about you." I didn't answer right away. I stared at the stack of copied documents spread across my dining room table. The evening sun had almost disappeared, leaving only a pale strip of light across the hardwood floor. "Who was asking about me?" I finally said. "I'm afraid Mr. Avery wouldn't tell me over the phone," Daniel Brooks replied. "He asked if you'd be willing to meet him tomorrow." "Is he all right?" "He's 91. There was a gentle smile in Daniel's voice. "His memory isn't what it used to be. But when he heard your name, he became very clear about one thing. What was that? He said, "Tell Claire to bring every paper she has. She'll need all of them." I glanced again at my grandfather's envelope. "I'll be there." Daniel gave me an address on the north side of Columbus. It wasn't an accounting office. It was an assisted living community. After we hung up, I didn't touch the papers for several minutes. Instead, I opened my laptop and searched for Michael Avery. He had retired almost 20 years earlier. Before that, he'd spent 4 decades as a certified public accountant, specializing in estate planning and family businesses. There was one small article about his retirement. The accompanying photograph showed him standing beside my grandfather. Both men were smiling. I'd never seen that picture before. I printed it anyway. Sometimes photographs answer questions. Sometimes they create new ones. The next morning, I took a personal day from work. The assisted living community was quiet. Fresh flowers lined the entrance. A volunteer was helping residents plant herbs in raised garden beds. Everything about the place felt peaceful. Daniel Brooks met me in the lobby. He looked to be in his early 40s, neatly dressed, with the calm manner of someone who spent his days solving other people's problems. "Claire." "Yes." He shook my hand. "Thank you for coming. How well did you know Michael Avery?" "I've been handling his files since I purchased his practice." "So you're an accountant too?" He smiled. "I suppose that's why he trusted me." As we walked down the hallway, he spoke quietly. "Yesterday morning, a man came asking questions." "My father?" Daniel shook his head. "No." "My brother?" "No." He stopped outside a room. "I'd rather let Mr. Avery explain." Michael Avery was smaller than I expected. Age had narrowed his shoulders, but his eyes remained surprisingly sharp. A thick blanket covered his knees. When I stepped inside, he studied me for several seconds. Then he smiled. "You have Harold's eyes." I couldn't help smiling back. "I've been told that before." "He'd be pleased." His voice was soft but steady. He pointed toward the chair beside his bed. "Sit." I placed my folder on the small table between us. "I brought the documents. I hoped you would." He didn't ask to see them immediately. Instead, he looked at me for a long moment. "You're an accountant?" "Yes." "Good." He nodded slowly. "You'll understand why records matter." "I already do." He leaned back. "Your grandfather understood something most people don't." "What's that?" "Money doesn't destroy families." He paused. "Lies about money do." The room fell quiet. Then he surprised me. "Show me Elaine's ledger." I handed him photographs of my mother's handwritten pages. He adjusted his glasses and carefully examined the first sheet. Less than a minute later, he sighed. "I was afraid of this." "You've seen it before?" "No." He tapped one line with a trembling finger. "But I recognized the handwriting." I frowned. "My mother's?" "No." He looked directly at me. "Only part of it." "What do you mean?" "These pages weren't written all at once." I leaned closer. He pointed toward several entries. Different pens. Different pressure. Different ink aging. He flipped another page. "Someone added to this over many years. You can tell that." He gave a tired smile. "I spent 50 years examining financial records." He paused again. "These pages evolved." That wasn't what caught my attention. The next sentence did. "And Elaine didn't write every entry." A chill ran through me. "If she didn't." Michael finished the thought. Then someone helped her. Daniel Brooks quietly took notes while Michael continued studying the pages. Finally, he reached the last sheet. His expression changed. This number. He pointed to the final total. $486,214. Yes. I know exactly where it came from. You do. It isn't a debt calculation. My heart skipped. What is it? Michael looked at me with the sadness of someone who had carried another family's secret for far too long. It's almost the exact amount Harold transferred into a protected account. He swallowed carefully. For your future. I felt the room tilt. A protected account. Michael nodded. Created shortly after your 18th birthday. I stared at him. I've never had a trust fund. No. He looked toward Daniel. Because someone closed the account. Silence settled over the room. Finally, I managed to ask the only question that mattered. Who? Michael didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slowly opened the drawer of his bedside table. From inside, he removed a thin leather folder. Across the front was a faded label. Donnelly Family, Original Trust File. He rested his hand on it but didn't open it. Before I show you what's inside, he said quietly. You need to understand why someone came looking for these records yesterday. He looked directly into my eyes. Because whoever took that money believes you're getting close enough to prove it. For a long moment, no one reached for the leather folder. Michael Avery kept one hand resting on it as though he wanted me to understand its weight before I understood its contents. Daniel quietly closed the office door behind him. The room suddenly felt smaller. Not threatening. Just very still. I finally asked the question that had been sitting in my mind since Michael mentioned the account. How much was in it? Michael didn't answer with a number. He opened the folder instead. Inside were original trust documents. Bank correspondence. Annual summaries. Signature cards. Everything was neatly arranged behind dated dividers. He carefully removed the first page and handed it to me. At the top it read, Irrevocable Education and Future Support Trust. Beneficiary, Claire Elizabeth Donnelly. My full legal name. My grandfather's signature appeared near the bottom. The bank's seal was still visible. I turned the page. There it was. The opening deposit. $475,000. I looked at Michael. My grandfather did this. He did. When? 3 months after your 18th birthday. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because Harold wanted the trust to remain private until you turned 35. I froze. I'm 34. Exactly. He folded his hands together. He believed you should build your own life first. That sounded like him. Growing up, Grandpa never believed money should replace effort. He often told me that financial security was most valuable when it arrived after a person had already learned to stand on their own. I should have noticed how often he repeated that lesson. I thought he was teaching philosophy. Maybe he was preparing me for something else. Michael slid another document across the table. This one showed yearly account statements. Investment growth. Interest. Dividend income. By the time I was 33, the trust had grown to just over $812,000. I stopped reading. My breathing slowed. Not because of the amount. Because I already knew what came next. If the account had reached more than $800,000, someone had taken far more than the figure my mother demanded from me. Michael watched my face. You figured it out. I think so. The number in Elaine's folder wasn't random. He nodded. No. It was close enough to sound believable. And far enough away from the real balance. Daniel quietly added. People rarely question numbers they don't already know. That sentence stayed with me. Fraud isn't always about creating fake numbers. Sometimes it's about choosing numbers that feel ordinary. Michael continued turning pages. Everything remained perfectly documented until one particular year. Then the file changed. A single withdrawal request. A transfer authorization. An account closure. Every page after that consisted of correspondence questioning the transaction. I looked at the signature authorizing the transfer. Elaine Donnelly. I frowned. She wasn't the beneficiary. No. She wasn't the trustee. No. Then how could she authorize this? Michael nodded slowly. Excellent question. He handed me one more document. My grandfather had signed an amendment naming a temporary trustee. But only under one condition. If Claire became permanently incapacitated before age 35. I stared at the page. I was never incapacitated. I know. Then the amendment never applied. Correct. So the transfer should have been impossible. Michael's expression hardened for the first time. It should have been. The room became completely silent. Finally Daniel spoke. The bank investigated. They did. Michael nodded. But they accepted paperwork they believed was legitimate. What paperwork? Michael hesitated. Then he slid the final authorization form toward me. Attached to it was a physician's certification. I read the first sentence. Then read it again. It claimed I had suffered a severe cognitive impairment after a serious automobile accident. I looked up immediately. I was never in a serious accident. I know. The doctor's signature. Michael tapped the page gently. Was forged. A strange calm settled over me. Sometimes the truth is so unbelievable that emotion arrives later. I simply kept reading. The report described months of rehabilitation that never happened. Hospital admissions that never existed. Medical evaluations I'd never received. Someone hadn't just forged one signature. They had invented an entire medical history. I whispered. This couldn't have happened without help. No. Michael looked toward Daniel. We thought the same thing. Daniel opened his notebook. There was one more signature. He pointed near the bottom of the authorization. A witness. I leaned closer. The handwriting wasn't familiar. The name was Thomas Donnelly. My father. For the first time since the birthday dinner, I felt something stronger than confusion. Not anger. Disappointment. My father hadn't shouted. He hadn't defended my mother. He hadn't asked me to repay anything. He had simply remained silent. Maybe because silence was safer than explanation. I closed the file. There has to be another explanation. Michael looked at me with genuine kindness. I hoped there would be. I stared at my father's signature until the letters blurred together. Then something unexpected caught my eye. Beside his signature was the date. I reached for another document. Then another. My accountant's instincts took over. Dates. Always check dates. I compared the authorization with my father's employment records I'd requested earlier that week. A cold feeling spread through my chest. The signature had been witnessed on October 18th. According to his employment file. My father had been working 12-hour shifts in another state that entire week. He couldn't have witnessed the document. He wasn't even in Ohio. I looked at Michael. My father's signature. He nodded before I finished. Appears to be forged too. Which meant someone had stolen much more than money. They had stolen identities. And suddenly, there was only one signature left on the entire file that no one had questioned. My mother's. I drove home with the trust file secured inside a locked document case that Daniel had insisted I borrow. "Keep it with you," he said before I left the assisted living community. "Don't leave it in your car. Don't leave it at work. You think someone will try to take it?" "I think someone already tried." He didn't elaborate. Neither did I. The evidence was finally beginning to fit together. But there was one problem. Evidence on paper wasn't enough. If I wanted the truth to matter, it had to stand on its own in front of people who couldn't ignore it. The following morning, I met with an attorney recommended by Daniel Brooks. Her name was Rebecca Sloan, 53, an estate litigation attorney with a reputation for patience rather than theatrics. She spent nearly 2 hours reviewing every document without interrupting. She never rushed. Never guessed. When she finally closed the last folder, she folded her hands together. "You've done something most people don't." "What?" "You kept the original timeline intact." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "People usually start with accusations." She tapped the stack of documents. "You started with records." She looked at me for a moment. "If these documents are authentic, and they appear to be, you may be looking at multiple civil claims, possible financial fraud, and potentially criminal offenses." The words sounded clinical. Not emotional. That somehow made them feel even heavier. "What happens now?" I asked. Rebecca slid a legal pad toward me. "Now we stop talking to your family." I wasn't planning to. "We communicate through documentation." She wrote 3 names. The bank. The estate attorney who drafted the trust. The forensic document examiner. "Facts first," she said. "Always." That afternoon, certified letters were sent requesting complete records from the bank. The estate attorney still had archived files. The document examiner agreed to compare every signature. For the first time since my mother's demand, I felt like I wasn't carrying the weight alone. 3 days later, my mother called. I let it ring. She called again. Then she left a voicemail. "Claire, enough is enough. Your brother and I think it's time we settle this privately." My brother and I. That wording caught my attention. Ryan hadn't mentioned any debt when he'd called. Now he was apparently involved. I saved the voicemail. Rebecca smiled when I forwarded it to her. "Don't respond." "Why?" "Because people who believe they're in control usually keep talking." She was right. Over the next week, my mother sent 6 more messages. Each one sounded a little different. First confident. Then impatient. Then disappointed. Finally, worried. The bank responded first. They located archived microfilm records dating back nearly 2 decades. The trust had existed. The deposits matched Michael Avery's files exactly. More importantly, the account closure had triggered an internal review at the time. I looked up from the report. Why wasn't anything done? Rebecca answered. The bank believed the supporting documents were legitimate. What changed? She turned another page. Nothing. I frowned. Nothing. The investigator retired before the review was completed. The case had quietly been closed. Not because the transaction was proven legitimate. Because no one finished asking questions. I should have noticed how often important things simply stopped halfway. A week later, the forensic document examiner completed his report. Every signature was analyzed. My grandfather's. My father's. The physician's. My mother's. The conclusions filled only 4 pages. They were devastating. My grandfather's signatures were authentic. My mother's signatures were authentic. The physician's signature was forged. My father's signature was forged. The witness initials on 2 supporting documents were also forged. Rebecca placed the report beside the trust file. We now know exactly which signatures can be trusted. What about the physician? I've already checked. She looked at me carefully. He died 11 years before these documents were supposedly signed. I stared at her. That's impossible. Exactly. Silence settled over the office. There was almost nothing left to speculate about. The evidence had quietly removed speculation, one document at a time. Then Rebecca received another phone call. She listened without speaking. Wrote down several notes. Hung up. What happened? She slid a business card across the desk. The same local bank. Different department. They found someone. Who? The employee who processed the account closure. I leaned forward. Does she remember it? Rebecca nodded slowly. Apparently. She's been waiting years for someone to ask. 2 days later, we met Linda Mercer, now retired. She was 72 and had worked at the bank for 35 years. She greeted us politely but looked nervous the moment she saw the trust file. I remember this account. You do? I asked. It bothered me. Why? Linda took a deep breath. The woman who came in. She paused. Was very convincing. My mother. Linda nodded. She said her daughter had suffered a life-changing accident. I looked down. The paperwork supported the story. So you approved it? No. She shook her head immediately. I refused. Rebecca and I exchanged a glance. You refused? Yes. Then who approved it? Linda looked out the conference room window for several seconds before answering. It wasn't me. Who was it? She slowly turned back toward us. The branch manager overruled my decision. Rebecca wrote down the name. I recognized it instantly. Not because I'd ever met him. Because I'd seen it somewhere else. On one of the photocopied checks my grandfather had written years earlier. The branch manager's name appeared as a personal reference. Which meant this wasn't just about forged documents anymore. Someone inside the bank had known my family. And that changed everything. The following Tuesday, Rebecca and I met Linda Mercer again. This time, she brought something she hadn't mentioned during our first meeting. An old banker's diary. Not a personal journal. A desk calendar she had used to record unusual situations that required follow-up. She placed it gently on the conference table. I almost threw this away when I retired, she said. I'm glad you didn't. So am I. She opened it to October. The pages had faded over the years, but her handwriting was still neat. One date was circled twice. October 18th. The same date listed on the forged trust documents. Linda pointed to a short note she'd written that afternoon. Refused trust payout. Requested legal review. Manager overruled decision. Nothing more. Just one sentence. Sometimes a single sentence carries more weight than 100 pages. Rebecca photographed the page. This confirms you objected before the funds were released. Linda nodded. I knew something felt wrong. What bothered you? I asked. She thought for a moment. It wasn't the paperwork. It wasn't. No. She looked directly at me. It was your mother. I waited. She kept telling me not to contact you. The room fell silent. Rebecca asked the next question. What reason did she give? Linda looked down at the calendar. She said seeing the paperwork would confuse you because of your brain injury. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because I'd spent that exact week preparing for my CPA licensing exam. I still had the exam confirmation email, the study schedules, the hotel receipt, the passing score. According to my mother's paperwork, I was suffering severe cognitive impairment. According to real life, I had passed one of the hardest professional exams of my career. Facts have remarkable timing. Over the next month, everything moved faster than I expected. The bank reopened its internal investigation. Rebecca filed civil claims to recover the trust assets. The estate court ordered preservation of every surviving financial record connected to my grandfather's estate. Then the forensic accountant finished reconstructing the money trail. When Rebecca called me into her office, she already had the report open. "I think we found where the money went." I sat down quietly. It wasn't transferred into one account. It wasn't. She turned the report toward me. There were 9 transfers. Each transfer occurred within days of the trust being closed. Different amounts. Different destinations. Different financial institutions. Whoever had planned it knew that smaller transactions attracted less attention than one large withdrawal. The money spread outward like water. Some funded mortgage payments. Some purchased investment certificates. Some disappeared into business accounts. One transfer immediately caught my attention. Beneficiary: Ryan Donnelly. Amount: $94,000. I stared at the page. My younger brother. Rebecca watched my expression. "We've confirmed the account belonged to him." "I don't understand." "It may not mean he knew where the money originated." She paused before continuing. "But it does mean trust funds reached him." I remembered the apartment my parents had helped him buy. The down payment he'd never explained. The new SUV that appeared a year later. The vacations. At the time, I'd assumed he was simply doing well. Maybe he believed that too. Or maybe he'd never asked questions because the answers were inconvenient. I didn't know. Not yet. 3 weeks later, mediation was scheduled before the civil trial. It wasn't mandatory. But everyone agreed to attend. My mother arrived wearing the same calm expression she'd worn at Grandma Ruth's birthday dinner. My father looked exhausted. Ryan wouldn't meet my eyes. Grandma Ruth sat quietly beside me. Michael Avery couldn't attend because of his health, but his sworn affidavit had already been entered into the record. Boxes of documents filled one side of the conference room. Rebecca arranged them carefully. No dramatic gestures. No speeches. Just evidence. The mediator asked my mother a simple question. "Mrs. Donnelly, do you still maintain that your daughter owes you nearly $500,000? "Yes." "On what basis?" "My records." Rebecca stood. "May I respond?" The mediator nodded. Rebecca didn't argue. She simply began placing documents on the table one at a time. The trust agreement. The original checks from my grandfather. The bank statements. The forensic handwriting report. The employment records proving my father couldn't have witnessed the authorization. The CPA exam records proving I was never cognitively impaired. Linda Mercer's diary. Michael Avery's affidavit. Each document quietly removed another piece of my mother's story. No one interrupted. There wasn't anything left to interrupt. Finally, Rebecca placed one last page in front of the mediator. The reconstructed money trail. 9 transfers. 9 destinations. Every dollar accounted for. The mediator slowly looked up. Then toward my mother. "Mrs. Donnelly." He paused. "Would you like to change any portion of your previous statement?" For the first time since this began. My mother didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked toward my father. He lowered his eyes. Then she looked at Ryan. He looked away. She was alone. Completely alone. After nearly a minute of silence, she spoke 4 quiet words. "I need my attorney." That was the first time she stopped insisting she was right. But it wasn't the moment that changed our family forever. That happened 10 days later. When someone unexpectedly decided to tell the entire truth. 10 days after the mediation, Rebecca called before I had finished my first cup of coffee. "You should come to my office." "Is something wrong?" "No." She paused. "I think something has finally gone right." By the time I arrived, the conference room was already occupied. Rebecca. Daniel Brooks. A court reporter. My father. Ryan. My mother wasn't there. I looked at the empty chair across the table. "Where's Mom?" Rebecca answered quietly. Her attorney advised her not to attend today's deposition. I nodded. That wasn't surprising. What surprised me was my father. He looked older than I remembered from just 2 weeks earlier. His shoulders were slumped, and his hands rested quietly on the table. For years, I had mistaken his silence for indifference. Now it looked more like exhaustion. The court reporter administered the oath. My father took a slow breath. Then he began. "I need to correct the record." No one interrupted. "I never signed the trust documents." His voice was steady. "I didn't even know the account had been closed until years later." Rebecca asked gently, "When did you find out?" He looked at me for the first time. "About 6 years after it happened." "Why didn't you tell Claire?" His eyes filled with regret. "Because I believed I couldn't prove it." He swallowed hard. "And because I was ashamed that I hadn't seen it sooner." He explained that my mother had handled nearly every financial matter in their home. Bills, bank statements, insurance, taxes. She insisted it was easier if one person managed everything. He trusted her without asking questions. Then one afternoon, while looking for truck registration papers, he found a bank envelope with my name on it. Inside was a notice confirming the trust account had been closed years earlier. When he confronted my mother, she told him the money had been legally transferred to cover my long-term medical care after an accident. I believed her. He looked down at his hands. "I never asked to see the hospital records." His voice cracked slightly. "I should have." The room remained silent. He continued. "Months later, I realized there had never been an accident." "So why didn't you come forward then?" Rebecca asked. He closed his eyes for a moment. "Because by then the money was gone. And I was afraid my family would fall apart." I almost smiled at the irony. Our family had already fallen apart. We just hadn't admitted it. Ryan asked to speak next. He looked nervous in a way I had never seen before. "I need Claire to know something." I nodded. "I honestly believed Mom was giving me money from Grandpa." He shook his head. "She told me he'd wanted to help me start my business." "Did you ever ask why I wasn't told?" "I did." "What did she say?" Ryan stared at the table. "She said you didn't need help because you were already successful." He looked up. I believed her. His voice broke. "I'm sorry. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't erase what had happened. But for the first time, it sounded honest." Over the following months, the legal process continued. The evidence proved overwhelming. The court ruled that the trust funds had been wrongfully transferred through fraudulent documentation. Civil judgments were entered. The remaining assets purchased with the trust money were ordered sold or returned. Several financial accounts were frozen while the funds were traced. The bank reached a confidential settlement with the estate after acknowledging failures in its approval process. As for my mother, she eventually admitted responsibility through her attorney as part of the civil proceedings. She never explained why she had first demanded that I repay the very money she had already taken. Maybe she believed that if I accepted the debt, I would never discover the trust. Maybe she thought enough time had passed that no one would question old records. She underestimated something my grandfather had understood all along. Paper remembers. Months later, I visited Grandpa Harold's grave with Grandma Ruth. She carried fresh white lilies. I brought nothing except the envelope he'd left behind. The one marked, "Open only if Elaine makes claims." I stood there for a long time. Not thinking about the money. Not thinking about the lawsuit. Just thinking about a man who had trusted records more than promises because he understood that memories fade, but the truth deserves something stronger. Grandma slipped her arm through mine as we walked back toward the parking lot. "He knew you would keep looking," she said. "I wish he'd been wrong." So do I. The autumn air was cool. Leaves drifted quietly across the cemetery path. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying questions. Only answers. Some relationships never recovered. My parents divorced the following spring. Ryan and I rebuilt our relationship slowly, one honest conversation at a time. Grandma Ruth still invited us both for Sunday lunch. The gatherings were smaller, quieter, more careful. But they were real. As for me, I stayed in accounting. Every time a young client apologizes for asking too many questions about a financial document, I tell them the same thing. Questions protect people. Silence rarely does. Looking back now, I don't remember the amount written at the bottom of my mother's yellow folder. I remember the moment I decided not to believe it without proof. Because that decision didn't just recover an inheritance. It gave me back something far more valuable. The confidence to trust evidence over fear. And the quiet certainty that the truth doesn't need the loudest voice. It only needs someone willing to keep reading. PND.